talking at once, spreading rumors about what really happened. Some people said Mrs. Osborne had a gun, which wasn't true. Others said multiple kids were arrested. Parents were recording everything on their phones, and I knew this would be all over social media within hours. Mom drove me home in silence, and I stared out the window thinking about everything. That evening we turned on the local news, and there it was. The top story about a teacher who held students hostage after her mother's death. They didn't say any names, but showed footage of our school and interviewed some parents in the parking lot. Everyone at the school would know exactly who they meant. Mom heated up leftover pasta for dinner, but I couldn't eat anything. My stomach felt sick thinking about Philip and what might happen to him. He was just a kid who wanted friends and made a really stupid choice. Mom sat with me at the kitchen table, and we talked about how one stupid decision can destroy so many lives. She said Philip would have to live with this forever, knowing his prank call caused someone to die. She also said Mrs. Osborne would probably never teach again after locking us in like that. Even Aiden would face serious consequences for paying someone to commit what turned out to be a crime. None of them probably imagined it would end up like this when they made their choices. Mom held my hand and said she was proud of me for telling the truth and helping Philip when he needed someone, but I didn't feel proud at all. I just felt sad for everyone involved. The next morning, Mom drove me to the school even though I usually took the bus because she wanted to make sure everything was okay. The parking lot was way emptier than usual, and when I got to first period, only about half the kids were there. A substitute teacher sat at Mrs. Osborne's desk looking nervous, while Alina LeBlanc, the counselor from yesterday, stood by the door greeting everyone as we came in. She had this fake calm smile that didn't reach her eyes and kept asking if we were doing all right. The substitute introduced herself as Miss Rodriguez and said she'd be teaching us for a while but didn't explain how long. Alina took over and started talking about trauma and how it was normal to feel scared or confused after what happened yesterday. She passed around a feelings chart and asked us to point to how we were doing, but most kids just stared at their desks. Kenny picked angry, and Danica picked sad. But when it got to me, I just passed it along without choosing anything. Alina kept trying to get us to share our thoughts, but the room stayed mostly quiet, except for the sound of someone's pen clicking over and over. She gave up after 20 minutes and let Ms. Rodriguez start teaching, but nobody could focus on the lesson about symbolism in literature when we'd just lived through something that felt way too real. During lunch, I sat with my usual group and heard that Philip had been suspended while they investigated everything. Someone's older brother worked at the courthouse and said he saw Philip there with his grandma and a lawyer, which made my stomach drop, because that meant this was getting really serious. The cafeteria buzzed with rumors about what would happen to him and whether he'd go to jail for making the call that killed Mrs. Osborne's mom. Kids kept looking over at the empty spot where Philip usually sat alone with his sandwich and library book.